It's the ESCTips.com Eurovision Preview Podcast. Join us as we sort this year's contenders from the duds.
Attention, you are now entering a fanboy-free zone.
Hello and welcome to the third and final ESCTips.com Eurovision podcast of the year. My name is Gavin and today I'm joined by two special guests to discuss this year's automatic qualifiers. First up we have serial Eurovision blogger and former commentator Tobias Larsson from Helsinki. How's Eurovision going down in Finland?
Eurovision is we are having expectations, I think, for once. The song isn't a big success, it's not a big hit commercially, but the male part of our duo is becoming quite famous because he's part of a very popular entertainment show on Finnish television. So I think people are going to pay a little bit more attention this year than they've done for the last couple of years.
I think Finland could be quite hopeful. They should do. They deserve it.
But that never correlates with Finland because we often think that we would deserve something and then we get nothing. So we've grown so used to our idea of our entry doesn't really matter because everyone else will judge it and they will probably not see what we see in it anyway. So we're hopeful, but perhaps not as much as the Swedes would be, to put it like that.
Anyway, also joining us just 24 hours before clocking up yet more air miles for his pre-Eurovision dose of vitamin D, it's Sofabet's Daniel Gould. What are you looking forward to?
Hey there, Gavin.
Yeah, you're all right.
I'm very well, thank you. I'm looking forward to talking about these 6 songs.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what are you looking forward to more, the Bahamas or talking about Manel's Do It For Your Lover?
We'll come to that. My thoughts on the Spanish song, so I'm looking forward to a bit of sunshine before those 2 weeks of immersing myself in the dark corners of the press room.
Will Do It For Your Lover be on your sunny Bahamas playlist?
Definitely not.
Anyway, that's a preview of what we've got to come later. Anyway, we will be discussing 6 songs. There's no running order today, so we could go worst to best, but that tends to provoke complaints. So let's go in reverse alphabetical order and start with the UK, where Lucy Jones sing the Emily De Forest penned I'll Never Give Up On You. Tobias, have you given up on the UK?
I have not. I would never do such a thing. I never gave up on Austria, for instance. And Austria spent 37 years or something in the desert. So no, I'm not giving up on the UK. I can find it a little bit weird that the UK, just like Ireland, has to go abroad to find songwriters. I thought there would be songwriters in the UK. But anyway, apart from that, I think that this is a pretty solid effort. It's a good ballad. It's well written. It's perhaps not the most exciting piece of music I have heard ever in my life, but it's solid, and that sometimes works. Sometimes it's enough. It's sort of the Jessica Garlick factor. Even if your song isn't brilliant, a good performance and a sort of solid overall impression can sort of help it up. I think the UK has, well, it won't be bottom 5 this year at least. I would be very surprised if that happened.
I think so too. What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. It's surely getting a little bit of jury. Lucy is very good on stage. She's a very experienced stage performer. She sells the song well. Again, I don't find it the most exciting thing song-wise. But there's something to be said for, a nice-looking female singing well, a nice sort of plaintive ballad, and Lucy provides that. So I can't really get too enthusiastic about backing it for top 10 or laying it for top 10. A lot depends on where it comes in the running order and whether others fall down. But it's around halfway.
Actually, reading your site, a few in the comments section have mentioned that there has to be a female ballad in the top 10. And I suppose that's a strong case for it, but then maybe Azerbaijan fills that slot with its regional support.
There's Denmark comes up with something as well that can kind of fulfill that remit. There's some one of those things will fill somewhere in the lower top 10.
I suppose the positives are that the BBC seem to think they have something up their sleeve, which could mean they're either dusting Electro Velvet's glowing suits off. But to be fair to the BBC, I do think they've been consulting the right people this year. So I'm quite eager to see the staging. Certainly in the video form, it's quite an impactful song. Just listen to it in the background, it does sort of disappear. So maybe once we get to Kiev, it will be enhanced. I think left-hand side will be the success for them, with a fair wind, 13th to 16th, something like that.
I think actually the biggest problem with the song is that maybe it doesn't have the right form. Maybe I've heard the dance remix, and that's really brilliant. The dance remix, it's a really, really good track when you listen to the dance remix. I think this dusty old ballad formula is what holds it back. This could have been a top 10 contender if it had been arranged differently and presented differently. I think that it's a good song stuck in a very old-fashioned mindset, and that's the one that will probably hold it back from the left-hand side, I think.
I think that's where they started. They had the very basic piano version of it. Then I think they looked at what the other countries were turning up with. And then I think someone had an idea, let's London grammar it and then add a bit of tempo towards the end. I think they've done quite a good job with it. I haven't actually heard the dance remix. Daniel, have you heard it?
I haven't, no. I want to, though.
No, yeah, I'm going to look for it after this. Right, let's move on to the hosts, or at least we think they're still the hosts. There are photos emerging of a stage being constructed today. That may move to Dusseldorf in a week or so. I don't know. O.Torvald will be treating Eurovision to their interpretation of Muse with the song Time. Daniel, obviously, have you got time for Time?
I mean, not particularly. I mean, I suppose it ploughs its own furrow as the only rock track. It's well drawn. There's a certain amount of sympathy for Ukraine, given current circumstances and the controversy surrounding Russia in the build-up to this year's contest. And they perform it well enough. I just don't think, as a rock song, it's melodic enough. When I think of the rock songs that hit the top 10, when I think of Turkey's Delhi, or they're stronger than this. And so, despite having the things I mentioned going for it, I can't really motivate myself to backing this for top 10 or see it in the top 10.
I agree. I think it's actually quite credible. Their staging concept for the national final is very memorable, and I think if they can take something like that, at least it'll be visually more memorable. It could just sneak a late top 10 finish, given we usually have 3 or 4 ex-USSR nations, but I think it'll be very tight. I think more likely it'll finish outside the top 10. What about you, Tobias? What are your thoughts?
Well, Ukraine are always so good with staging their songs. They have this really magic touch. I mean, remember in Copenhagen when they had TikTok, which is frankly not much of a song, and they managed to turn it into an explosive little package that ended in 6th place. So, I mean, you never know. I can't see what kind of magical fairy dust will be needed to turn this into something really appetizing. I'm also thinking about Turkey 2008. It has sort of the same vibe, and I like it when it gets noisy in the end. It's a little bit like Georgia last year, which at least the UK jury liked. And it's... I think that it could have been a credible rock song, but the song in itself, the songwriting isn't good enough, and then the atmosphere isn't enough to build up on it. And then as to add to this, whether it's going to be moved or not, I think we can scrap that. That's in the EBU fantasy world, that the contest could be moved. I mean, you need more than 1,000 volunteers to make a decent Eurovision. Where would you find them in this space of time? I can't see the contest being moved. I can't see that as a possibility.
No, not at all. Now it's time to drift over to Spain. Manel sings Do It For Your Lover over 17 times, and Lolo Lover 40 times. Who said writing was dead? Daniel, would Manel do it for you?
Oh my God. I mean, this is This is my pet hate this year, this song. It's my toilet break. There's something about the production that really gets on my nerves, that kind of electronic la la lover bits that is repeated ad nauseum. I mean, I do understand its attempt to be summery and that he's like a cute young chap, but I think he lacks stage presence. And currently I've got a bet with another Eurovision gambler in which, because this is my pet hate, I'm thinking maybe last place, and my Eurovision gambling friend thinks Germany instead, and we're both kind of we're putting our money where our mouths is for an individual bet there. This is my personal last place, whether it finishes last or not.
At least one of you will win that bet. Tobias, where are you on Spain?
Well, to give a really old reference here, this for me is a packet full of sunshine. Remember Juicy Fruit, anyone? This is so happy and so, this one works for me on one level. I like it when I hear it, when I listen to it, when it comes on a playlist. I like it. I hum along, it makes me feel happy, but I can't see who will vote for it. And this one is sort of the the pin-up entry of this year's biggest problem. There are so many songs that are clearly designed to sit well with the commercial radio. They're made to be commercial hits, to be played on the radio, but how on earth do you make this interesting for 3 minutes on stage? There is just one idea, and this is the kind of song tailor-made for commercial radio. So you could go on a break when at any given point during this song. It won't matter. You can start 1 minute in and end at 2:15, and nobody's going to notice. And that's an excellent quality for radio, but it's not an excellent thing at Eurovision because it gets boring. It gets very flat after 1 minute.
I think that was very obvious in Amsterdam. He got a warm round of applause, actually, but everyone lost interest after the first chorus.
Because nothing happens.
No.
It's designed that way. It's not something they've done wrong. This is something that will help it in the charts and something that will help it to get publicity on home ground. So I understand it. But yeah, this is a very likely last place. I mean, basically, it's pretty obvious that unless the big five are really making an effort, one of them will be last because all the other songs have qualified through the semifinals. So, yeah, I wouldn't personally want this to end last, but I can very well see it happen.
I'd be quite happy with it, actually.
But I think it's nice. It's summery, I live in Finland, for crying out loud. We had 8 months of winter. Anything that reminds us of summer makes us go into a spin. So maybe it gets a couple of points from Finland, and then, then that's it.
Manel, you've got 2 points on the board already. I'm actually going to deviate from the running order now, just to maintain our listeners to the end of the show, because I think we should save Italy till last. So from Spain, let's leap over to France, into Germany, where Lavina will sing Perfect Life. Tobias, if you could imagine a perfect life, would Lavina be part of it?
She's part of the tapestry. Just like the Spanish chap, she can be there in the background. It doesn't disturb me in any way.
The mistakes that you learn from in life.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also this kind of very radio-friendly song, and she's quite good, actually. I mean, she has a certain something, and it's just that this song won't stand a chance. I don't think the German entry will be the worst song in the final. I'm pretty sure it won't be. But I don't think Germany was the worst song in the final in 2015 or 2016 either. Their problem is that they have songs that are designed to be okay and not to attract any kind of voting. I mean, they don't attract any emotion in people. I mean, I can get angry with songs and notice them because of that. But Germany is so nothing. It's just very nice, and it goes on for 3 minutes and then it's gone, and I can't remember what it sounded like.
Yeah, I said in my Amsterdam review, and I'll say it again here, Perfect Life is just a female version of That Sounds Good to Me. and I suspect Lavina will match Josh Dubovi's Eurovision journey to last place, which wouldn't be so good for Daniel's bet.
Yeah, I mean, bland is the word we're looking for here.
Yeah.
I actually quite like the song, and I quite like her as well. I could imagine it managing. The reason why I think it might beat Spain was I think it might manage the occasional lower top 10 with some juries, but I think she's got the same problem as Anne-Sophie, who actually was sort of ranked somewhere between 11th and 15th with so many juries that she didn't actually get anything from them. And Lavina is in danger of something similar happening, because it's perfectly competent, but it's also utterly bland. But I just think maybe with a few juries, they love a sort of competent radio friendly thing, and she sells it well enough. Although she's really as bland as the song. But yeah, I mean bottom 5 for sure.
Yes, definitely. I can't see it do it better than, like, if they do better than 24th. A party is due for all Germans. I mean, buy all Germans ice cream if it scores better than that, because frankly it's not very likely.
Well, it misses out on the hat trick, doesn't it?
Yeah, that would be a shame though. I think actually the hat trick would be the best that could happen to Germany, because the people in charge now are obviously don't have a clue what they're doing, and Germany is one of those countries. I mean, with that record industry that Germany has, they could do top 5 every year if they did stuff right. And the people in question now, they have no idea. So if they end last for the 3rd consecutive year, I think the broom will sweep everyone off there, and they will have a completely new team the next year. I wish they would do what Italy have done and what France is doing right now. So
yeah, definitely, I agree there. Anyway, crossing over to France, Alma will be hoping to build on Emia's 6th place with her song Requiem. I know you're a fan of this, Daniel. Tell us about Requiem.
Yeah, so it's distinctive. It's in French, or mainly in French, I should say, with a sort of French Indila-inspired, that slight Middle Eastern sound as well. And I think as a song, as a composition, it's good enough to be top 10. I worried about her early live performances of it, but she's grown in confidence and stature on the stage. Her vocals are not perfect, but I was impressed with the amount of personality she showed in Amsterdam. She genuinely looked like she was enjoying performing it, which couldn't be said of her performances a few months ago. So I think they're going to have a little bit up their sleeve in terms of staging this year, because I think they recognised their mistake last year when Amir turned up at the first rehearsal and was static all the way through. There was nothing going on. So I'm hoping that they will realise its potential to finish in the top 10.
Yeah, I think the hint so far is that they're going to go with a ballroom dancing Argentine tango theme, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so. I've seen a couple of adverts. The advert for it being shown on theatres in France, and I saw something else with a green screen with her doing a few little steps and the tango dance as well. So I have to assume there'll be something along those lines.
So Tobias, do you agree with this?
Yeah, it's a very temperamental little song. It sparked some outrage among Eurovision fans when they not only cut it shorter because they needed to, and they added that tiny bit of English, and then they rearranged it a little bit. And just like with Amir, I think the Eurovision cut is better. I think the song becomes more distinct when it's shorter, and I think it's short and snappy and very, very functioning. I've also been worrying about her vocal abilities. But I think that on a good day, if she gets a good slot in the running order, and frankly, I think that the people in charge of at the EBU and the people who put the running order, they wouldn't mind it if France had success. They wouldn't cry if France won or at least made top 5. So I think this has quite good chances of getting a really good slot in the running order. So I think this could if they pull it off on stage, this could be even a surprise in the making. It could score even better than we think. It could be top 5 or even better.
Yeah, it could very well be. It's definitely one to watch. I do have it on very good authority that the EBU thought France would win last year. What a shock for them in the end. What a shock.
Right, it's about time we talked about this year's Eurovision favourite. It's time for Francesco Gabbani's Occidentales Karma. Tobias, is Francesco just monkeying around, or is he a justified favourite?
He's a bit of both, isn't he? I mean, he has a dancing gorilla. I mean, that's a first in Eurovision. I was actually following the Sanremo Festival this year. I was watching the final, and because I had heard good stuff. And Sanremo really is something else, I must say. If you compare Sanremo to the rest of the Eurovision season, you can tell that it comes from a different place, that most of the acts are actually there to sing their song. They do interpretation. They don't have a dance routine, and they don't have this, these cool LED screens, and they just come with a strong song and they perform the hell out of it. And I realized that I like that. I like this level of artistry, and I would probably enjoy if more of that came into Eurovision as well. That if countries raised the bar a bit and decided to go more artistic, perhaps. This is definitely my winner this year. I think this is the only song that I could see gathering enough support from both jury and televote to storm through. I could actually see this one do an Alexander Rybak kind of thingy and just, turn everyone else, everyone else will be so far behind. Because what people tend to forget when discussing this is that, yes, the trick with the monkey is fun or distracting or whatever you want, but remove that and it's still one hell of a song. And Francesco is one hell of a performer. He is so good and so likable. And I think it would be the surprise of a decade if this one doesn't win.
I think so. I'd sort of written in the review that it has all the ingredients of Fairy Tale and Satellite. And actually, if you play the chorus to Fairy Tale and the chorus to Gabbani's song, there's actually quite an overlap in terms of the pace, the pitch. There's a lot of crossovers, and you can definitely see why it's the market leader, and it does compare very favourably to Fairy Tale, albeit it's in Italian. As Ewan actually said in podcast 1, people voted for the beard in 2014 and the stickman in 2015. The gorilla is the simple but insanely memorable gimmick that propels this song ahead of 25 others in all of our books, I think. I suppose the caveat could be that other fun songs turn up with their simple gimmicks. As we saw in Amsterdam, Romania was extremely catchy, and they've really worked on their charisma and styling, and you've got more fun songs from the likes of Greece. Maybe they could divert a few points away, but I think that's more what Italy layers are hoping for. I'm less bothered by the YouTube stats, because I think that's all relative. Year on year, more people use YouTube and more people follow Eurovision, so you're always going to end up with higher stats every year. But I think it just overlooks what a unique song this is, and it's just miles ahead of what is quite a low-key year or low-key collection of songs so far. What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, I have to agree with you that this is by far the most likely winner. Obviously, it has a lot of things to attract the televoter. I must also say I don't worry about the jury vote. I know some people do. Some people worry that it falls down on the jury vote. I don't see that happening at all. I see this as Francesco is clearly head and shoulders above the rest in terms of his charisma, his performing ability. It's kind of half clever, isn't it? It has a message. It's pretending to have very interesting, clever lyrics about the way Westerners kind of cherry pick from Eastern religions. But it's clever and accessible, and I think those are all things that jurors love, just as much as televoters. So I'm seeing it win the jury vote as well as the televote. I don't have an issue with it somehow falling down on the jury vote.
Yeah, and
I would be very surprised if the jury wouldn't vote for it, because, I mean, what the jury is there for is to recognize the good songs. And show me one song that is as well written as this one this year. I mean, if they don't recognize, if they don't put Italy in at least top 3, what are the jurors doing there? Who are they? Seriously.
Yeah.
And actually, like last year, you had Russia, which is always expected to be lower on the jurors. I think people are kind of conflating the two and expecting it to be low, when actually it probably won't. It'll probably still be top 3 if it doesn't get number 1, and therefore people almost wishing for a massive drift in the market. It probably won't materialise, because the market is now wise. It's had 1 year of learning. It will catch up. It will see that Italy is in the top 3. It'll be the one that either tops the televote, or, you know, I don't think it can't not top the televote, and therefore it wins. So yeah, I think people are hoping for a lot in this market that probably won't happen. So there we have it. We've given it away a little bit here. But as with earlier podcasts, can you pick 2 potential winners? We'll go with you, Tobias, first, because you're a bit of an oracle. You're a market mover. Last year, Italy crashed when you tipped them. You're 1 year too early.
Yeah, well, yes. I'd like to claim that I actually picked Conchita Wurst weeks ahead of anyone else.
Of course you did.
In 2014, just to save my name here. I think that Italy is the winner. I'm so sure Italy is the winner that it's even hard for me to select another one that would be the winner if Italy doesn't win, because it's like I can't see. There are other songs that are really good, but they all have their flaws and they all have the things that hold them back. I like Portugal very much, for instance, but for Portugal, making the top 5 would be a victory. I like Belgium very much, but it's not a winning song. I like Macedonia very much, but it's not a winning song either. I think I would say that my alternative winner, if not Italy, would be Sweden. I would be super disappointed if that happened, but I mean, I could see Sweden as a bit of a compromise winner if Italy, for some reason, would fail to break through to the audiences.
Okay, there we go. Prepare for the crash on Sweden. Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, I have the same issue that if not Italy, then who? There's not a strong single alternative that I think can topple Italy. But if pushed for an alternative, my alternative is Bulgaria, because I think it's a strong song with a strong singer. It straddles some voting blocks, and I think that can be the sort of slightly distant second to Italy.
Yeah,
Actually, Bulgaria would be my tip for the second place. I can't see it winning, but I could see it being... I mean, if Italy is this year's Alexander Rybak, then I could see Bulgaria being this year's Johanna.
I was just about to say the same thing. But yes, I've sort of given away my hand here. But yeah, mine is Italy. I do find it very difficult to pick the second one, but there are several there. I think it'll come down to staging and who can muster the diaspora. Therefore, I have to go with Bulgaria purely because they look hungry, and if anyone's been following their PR, they sound as if they mean business. And Russia, news today, we're recording this well in advance of when it's going to be released, but news today is that the Moscow pre-party has been cancelled, so that suggests that Russia might be out of the running this year. So that Russian diaspora has to go somewhere, and our little Christian, he was born in Russia, so there's your destination potentially. Anyway, that is it from us. Myself and Daniel, as well as Ewan and Roy from Podcast 1, Rob from Podcast 2, will all be jetting off to Kiev on the 29th, which by the time this is published, that's sometime next week. Our chat room opens on the first day of rehearsals, which is the Sunday It's the 29th of April, not the Monday as in previous years. We will all be blogging non-stop. You can follow Dan on Twitter. He's at SofaBet. Tobias is at Tobson Helsinki. I am at ESCTips_Gavster. So a big thank you to our guests today. Thank you, Daniel.
A pleasure as always, Gav.
You can now go and pack and get ready for your flight tomorrow.
Thank you.
And thank you, Tobias. We will see you again for Melody Festival and in January.
Oh, definitely.
That's it, folks. Good luck with your Eurovision betting and predictions. And goodbye.